Alright, once again another Cardfight Vanguard rankings, this time on my favorite Dragonic Overlord designs based on their anime appearances, so those in the manga will unfortunately not be counted, and of course no victory of course, and definitely not by their skill, because if it's by their skill it's going to be very debatable, especially when most of them are basically restanding skills that are just basically better than the previous one, with the exception of the Burning Overlord build, which I wish they actually kind of bring back. And one other one that I am not ranking here is the Ace, because Dragonic Overlord the Ace did show up in the anime, but it was all covered in flames that it's hard to see, and also only his weapon got shown, so it's hard to rank Dragonic Overlord the Ace. So the Ace is actually the only one of the anime forms that is going to be ignored here, while the ones that are from 2011 all the way to V will be ranked based on my personal opinion. And yes, I will be counting the different variations, basically regular Overlord and the Breakride one, which is basically a flaming wing version. While it can be confusing with V version, because V version has basically the flaming wings on its card artwork, but the anime shows it with the regular white wings, but that one will be counted as basically the original Overlord as well. But anyway, with all that out of the way, let's just begin my personal favorite rankings of Dragonic Overlord designs. So on my list, which is number 9, it is usually going to be the base form, in which it is of course the original Dragonic Overlord. Not saying I don't really like Dragonic Overlord, in fact Dragonic Overlord was one of my very first decks, and I really love Dragonic Overlord's design with the cool warrior dragon aesthetic, and I definitely love the flaming look and the red shell it has on him, and especially the wing design, which is just simple, but I really love the bit of the wing design with the little bit of the flame aesthetic on it, just basically the pretense to all the other Overlord designs basically. And into my number 8, which is of course the other Dragonic Overlord, the Breakride Flaming Wing version. I just think this one is a little bit cooler than the base Overlord, just because it has its flaming wings, and technically this one could be resurrected as a bit corrupted, hence why it has those flaming wings. But other than that, the look doesn't really change, basically same shell design with the cool bit of armor with a more flaming look. But once again, another pretext of Dragonic Overlord form designs. And into my number 7, it's Dragonic Overlord the Destiny. The one Overlord deck with a unique playstyle that focuses on burning your opponent, and I really wish they bring this back in some way. But when it comes to the design, the Destiny is actually pretty weak to me, especially since it kind of looks like a 4-arm based Overlord with a saber-like wings, which looks a little bit bug-like. Also, personally, I don't really like the armor design that much when it comes to the Destiny, but at the same time, I do kind of like it for the more samurai approach with the cool saber wings and a bit of the armor, just not really the gold, but still does look stronger than the base form Overlords. And once again, this is basically a pretext form for another form. And into my number 6, which is basically the V evolved form, Dragonic Overlord the Great, or you could put the British Emperor Dragon one, which are both the same form, but the V one removed the title because V no longer needs the title. So in a way you can count them as two different forms, but V is based off the manga, in which the manga one did have the title before they decided to remove it, so they are counted as the same form here. And I do have to say this form is awesome. Basically a 4-arm version of the base Overlord, a self-evolved version, and the two big giant arms can actually be quite scary, especially with the dual swords. With basically extra armor and evolved wing design, and I really love the flaming wing design that got spread out here. Just pretty awesome, but not as cool as the other forms, since this is basically base Overlord forced self-evolved into a more stronger Overlord, hence why he still looks very similar to his base form, just with those extra arms, but intimidating enough to look even scarier than the Destiny. And now to my number 5, it's Dragonic Overlord the Purge, the evolved version of the Destiny, and this one looks pretty scary with all the guns that he holds, and they're very giant machine guns. Armor design definitely is an improvement to the Destiny with a cooler armor aesthetic, and especially the extra wings. I really love the flaming flare wing design here, and definitely has a pretty cool head design. The only thing is, it's just the gold on the armor. Personally, I don't think the gold really works, but gold works way better in this version than the Destiny, which being a form of the Destiny kind of works because gold aesthetic with the name, but still overall pretty awesome design, just not as cool as the next ones of course, but still cooler than the Great in my opinion. And into my number 4, it's Dragonic Overlord the Legend. Basically it's the Dragonic Overlord base form wearing some extra legendary armor, and the armor really looks like he's a legendary warrior, carrying a bunch of weapons, and especially I love the armor design with all the weapons he holds, but the armor design has all the blue metallic crystals on it, which I really love that design on it, which really makes him look like a powerful warrior. but overall it doesn't really change its design from its base form design. It's just basically his base form design wearing the extra armor, but I really love the extra armor design and basically just how it looks in comparison to the other overlords, hence why it's ranked right here. And now to my personal favorite Dragonic Overlord to use, not by design, is Dragonic Overlord the Cross. A Dragonic Overlord form based on being used from another timeline, and it was very fitting that it was used in Vanguard even though it wasn't used as a actual full-on skill unit, it was used as basically a battle unit, and it was pretty awesome, and I was glad that Dragonic Overlord the Cross got its time to shine, because at G, it was shown as a cameo. With this Dragonic Overlord looking more like an ancient warrior or a champion knight, hits its armor design, and I really love that. And it's also the Overlord that stands side by side with another variation of himself being the End, which will be talked about later, with a cool armor and head design which I also really love. Basically, it looks like an awesome legendary warrior or even ancient one, hence why it's ranked right here, and it's also personally my favorite Overlord to use just because of being able to use two Overlords at once. In which the Overlord that stands side by side with him is Dragonic Overlord the End, the first original evolved form of Dragonic Overlord, and this one is basically tired of battle that he becomes all powerful and self-evolve. And I really love how much of this design changed up from the original Overlord. Basically, extra armor, the wings even changed up with even more flare-like wings, and I really love the flare-like wings here, with extra pairs, even extra arms, and even has guns and laser swords. I just really overall love this, especially since this is the first cross ride, and basically the big first evolution that Bushiroad did in Vanguard, which eventually led up to all the other Overlord forms. But when it comes to design-wise, this is one of the coolest Overlord designs for its cool armor and wing design, and basically just being a pretense for all the other Overlords having evolutions, and it was the ultimate form of the first season. In which finally we go to the last one on the list, which is now pretty obvious. It's an even stronger form of Dragonic Overlord the End, and it's Dragonic Overlord the Rebirth, a corrupted, resurrected form by Link Joker. And the Rebirth is definitely very awesome, especially I love the corrupted design with the ring on the back. In fact, the ring design is different from the other reverse rings since it has ruins on that rings as well, making it look like the ultimate reverse unit, especially since this is a reversed unit on a evolved form, which makes it even more awesome. The armor design is definitely awesome. The wings don't really change much since this is a resurrected at the end, but the corrupted armor just looks absurdly awesome, especially the swords changed up a bit as well. He still has his guns, of course, which overall makes this form even more terrifying than even looking at the end, since basically this is a resurrected the End with a corrupted armor. Hence why when it comes to design wise, this is my personal Overlord design, especially on the lore reasons as well. And still to this day, this is the only evil Overlord design. And so that's it for this ranking on my personal favorite Dragonic Overlord designs based on my own personal opinion, based on anime appearances, and not by their skills. What do you guys think of it? How would you rank them? And which Overlord is your personal favorite? I just gave you my list, so you can always tell me yours. And overall, when it comes to Overlord being one of the classic Vanguard units, this was actually one of my very first favorite decks since I played from the beginning. And I just love dragons, so I just end up playing Overlord at the beginning. So basically, this is kind of like nostalgia for me for my very first Vanguard deck. But of course, Overlord over time is changed up a bit, especially with different types of restand skill, and of course, this is also the pretext of restand skills as well. But it was definitely an awesome card that led to so many forms, especially since at the D series, we do have one potential form if they decide to print it or not, and it's based off the lore of being Dragonic Overlord, the Blaster Blade or whatever. It's basically an old version of Dragonic Overlord, all silver, guarding the Blaster Blade. And I really hope they make this one in the future because this is one of those lore stories I really hope that they actually bring into the actual card game. But in that's it for this, and see you next time.